There is a moment almost every parent experiences, but rarely talks about.
Your child is fed, they are safe, nothing is technically wrong. And yet, they are melting down, crying harder the more you try to help, pushing away comfort, overreacting to something small. And inside you, a quiet question forms. Why is this happening when I've done everything right? In the United States, parents are often taught to look for behavior problems, to correct, to distract, to manage. But in some cultures, especially in Korea, parents are taught to look somewhere else entirely. Not at behavior, not even at emotions first, but at regulation. Because before a child can behave, before they can listen, before they can calm down, their nervous system has to feel safe. And that safety is built slowly, daily, through what surrounds the child, including food, but not only food. This is where the misunderstanding begins. This video is not about a magic Korean superfood. There is no secret ingredient that instantly makes children calm. What Korean parenting supports, often unintentionally, is something much deeper. A regulatory environment, one that feeds the brain, the gut, the nervous system, and the emotional world of a child, all at the same time. Modern neuroscience now confirms what traditional cultures practiced intuitively. And then the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard University explains this clearly. A child's ability to regulate emotions depends on how well their brain's stress response systems are supported in early life. Not trained, not disciplined, supported. And this is where Korean parenting quietly differs. Let's start with something simple. In many Western homes, food is treated as fuel. Calories, macros, protein counts. In Korea, food is treated as context. Meals are slower, more predictable, more sensory balanced. A typical Korean child meal does not overwhelm the nervous system. You'll rarely see extreme sweetness, heavy stimulation, aggressive flavors, rushed eating. Instead, meals often include warm soups, fermented vegetables, soft textures, mild grounding flavors. This matters more than it seems, because the gut and the brain are not separate systems. According to NIH-supported research, nearly 90% of serotonin receptors are influenced by the gut environment. Serotonin is not the happy hormone. It is the stability hormone. It helps the brain decide, am I safe? Can I relax? Can I handle this moment? When children are fed in a way that spikes and crashes blood sugar, overstimulates taste buds, or rushes digestion, their nervous system pays the price. In Korea, traditional meals rarely spike blood sugar aggressively. Rice is eaten with fiber-rich vegetables. Proteins are gentle and well-cooked. Fermented foods like kimchi introduce probiotics early, not as supplements, but as culture. Oxford psychology research shows that early gut diversity is linked to lower baseline anxiety and improved stress recovery later in childhood. Not because children learn to be calm, but because their bodies don't live in constant internal stress. This is regulation before behavior. Now let's talk about something even more important than food. How meals are experienced. In many American homes, meals are multitasking zones. Screens, background noise, rushed conversations, parents mentally elsewhere. Korean family meals, especially with young children, tend to be quieter. Not silent, but grounded. The child eats what the family eats. No special kids' food, no negotiating bites. This removes decision fatigue from the child's brain. The American Academy of Pediatrics has shown that children exposed to constant choices under stress show higher emotional reactivity. Choice is not freedom for a dysregulated nervous system. It is pressure. And Korean children are not asked, what do you want to eat? They are shown that this is what nourishes us. Predictability is regulation, and regulation is safety. Here is something rarely discussed. Korean parents do not rush emotional expression. If a child cries, the goal is not immediate silence. The goal is containment. A parent stays close, voice stays calm, body stays present. There is no performance anxiety, no pressure to stop crying quickly. Neuroscience calls this co-regulation. The child borrows the adult's nervous system. Harvard researchers describe this as the primary way children learn emotional regulation, not through instruction, but through repeated calm presence. Korean parenting culture does this naturally, not because of modern psychology, but because historically survival depended on emotional cohesion. Children were not separated from adult emotional rhythms. They learned calm by living inside it. Now let's connect this to food again, because this is where people get confused. Food is not used as a bribe, it is not used as emotional control. Children are not fed to stop feelings, they are fed to support the body that holds feelings. Warm foods after distress, soups during illness or emotional fatigue, simple meals after overstimulation. This aligns with nervous system science. Warm foods activate the parasympathetic response, the body's rest and digest system. Cold, sugary, highly processed foods activate stress pathways. The APA has published data showing correlations between high sugar diets and increased emotional volatility in children. Yet many parents are told emotional meltdowns are just developmental. They They are developmental, but the environment shapes how intense they become. Another quiet difference. And the Korean children are rarely overstimulated early in the day. Mornings are slower, evenings are calmer, sleep routines are protected. This matters because emotional regulation is directly tied to sleep-wake cycles. NIH research shows that poor sleep increases amygdala reactivity by up to 60% in children. That means the same small frustration feels dangerous to the brain. No amount of parenting technique can override a dysregulated nervous system. Korean routines reduce this baseline stress. Here's where I want you to pause, because this is the moment most parents feel something shift. If your child overreacts easily, melts down for no reason, struggles to calm even when loved, this is not a failure of discipline. This is a signal of overload. And overload is not solved by control. It is solved by support. Korean parenting does not ask, how do I fix this behavior? It asks, what is my child's body dealing with right now? That question alone changes everything. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Quietly, if this description feels familiar, if parts of this feel like your daily life, comment one word. Seen, not for the algorithm, for connection, because parenting was never meant to be done in isolation. In part 2, we will go deeper. We'll explore the role of emotional modeling, why Korean parents prioritize repair over perfection, how stress transmission works across generations, and how Western parents can apply these principles without changing culture or identity. This is not about becoming Korean. It is about understanding regulation. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. There is something uncomfortable most parents are never told. Children don't just react to what happens to them. They react to what lives inside the adults around them. Not words, not rules, but nervous systems. This is where emotional regulation becomes generational. And this is where Korean parenting reveals something powerful, without ever naming it. Modern neuroscience uses a term that sounds technical but feels deeply human: stress transmission. The NIH and APA both describe how a caregiver's chronic stress state is subconsciously mirrored by a child's developing brain. Not copied by imitation, but absorbed by proximity. A tense adult nervous system does not need to shout to be loud. It is felt. Korean parenting culture, especially in early childhood, places a strong emphasis on adult emotional containment. Not perfection. Containment. Parents are not expected to be endlessly cheerful. They are expected to be steady. When conflict happens, when a child cries, when frustration rises, the adult slows first. This is not instinctive. It is learned. Many Korean parents were raised in environments where emotional restraint was modeled daily. That restraint, when combined with warmth, becomes regulation. Here is a critical misunderstanding. Western parents often believe emotional regulation is something children must learn on their own. So we tell them, use your words, Kwei. Calm down. Take a breath. But developmentally, this is backwards. According to Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-regulation, is immature until the mid-20s. A young child literally does not have the brain wiring to self-calm consistently. So when we demand regulation without providing it, the child experiences failure, not growth. Korean parenting avoids this trap by relying heavily on cool regulation. The adult stays calm with the child. No lecture, no fixing, presence. Over time, the child internalizes that calm. This is how regulation is built, not taught. Now let's talk about something parents rarely connect to: emotions, rhythm. Korean households often follow predictable daily rhythms, similar wake times, consistent meal timing, structured but gentle routines. This rhythm stabilizes the nervous system. Oxford research in developmental psychology shows that predictable routines reduce cortisol levels in children, even in high-stress environments. Cortisol is not bad, but chronic elevation makes emotional regulation nearly impossible. When a child lives in unpredictability, irregular meals, sleep stimulation, their nervous system stays on alert. Alert systems do not regulate well. They react. Korean parenting unintentionally protects rhythm, not because of science, because of tradition. Another subtle difference. Korean parents focus less on emotional performance and more on emotional recovery. In Western culture, we often praise good behavior, being calm, not crying, but Korean parents are more concerned with how did we reconnect after distress. This is what psychologists call repair, and repair matters more than perfection. Harvard research shows that children who experience consistent emotional repair, even after conflict, develop stronger resilience than children raised in conflict-free but emotionally distant homes. In other words, it's not about never losing patience, it's about how quickly and sincerely connection is restored. Korean parenting prioritizes that restoration. A quiet moment after tears, food offered without commentary, closeness without analysis. This tells the child's nervous system. Stress passes, connection remains. That belief becomes emotional security. Now let's address something many parents feel but don't say out loud. Guilt, especially mothers. In Western parenting culture, guilt is constant. Am I doing enough? Am I damaging my child? Why can't I stay calm like other parents? Korean parenting culture does not center the parent's self-evaluation. It centers the family unit. Less self-focus, more collective stability. This reduces parental anxiety, which directly benefits the child. A PA data shows that parental anxiety correlates more strongly with child emotional dysregulation than parenting style itself. Your calm matters more than your technique. This brings us back to food, but now in its proper place. Food is not emotional medicine. It is nervous system support. Korean parents don't feed to stop feelings. They feed to stabilize the body so feelings can move through safely. Warm meals, shared timing, predictable structure. No shame, no pressure. Food becomes grounding, not control. Here's the most important part of this entire discussion. You do not need to adopt Korean culture to apply this. You do not need new recipes or strict traditions or perfect routines. You need a shift in focus from how do I stop this behavior to what is my child's nervous system asking for right now. Sometimes the answer is rest, sometimes warmth, sometimes presence, sometimes fewer words. Sometimes it's you slowing first. That is not weakness, that is leadership. If this video has changed how you see your child, even slightly, I want to hear from you. Comment below, I see it differently now. Not because you have answers, but because awareness is where regulation begins. And if you're watching this and thinking, I wish someone had told me this earlier, you're not behind. You're right on time, because repair is always possible. Children don't need calmer worlds, they need calmer nervous systems around them. That is what truly feeds emotional regulation. And